It's good to shake us up.
You do it now?
Oh,
Are you preaching, the teaching today?
yes, I am.
Hey, I just want to tell you something.
Talk to me.
You hurt my feelings a while
I
ago.
don't
You
know
said
why.
I was dressed so casual.
You look good.
I didn't say nothing about how slouchy you look.
Yeah, you look good. I didn't mean you to
I
look
didn't
good.
say nothing about you, how slouchy you look.
Yeah, I don't look slouchy. I don't look slouchy, do
I was disappointed in myself.
No.
I missed the opportunity over there whenever. About 30 seconds after you said something about looking a little casual, that came to me and I'm like, why didn't I do that to him?
Good. You looking good.
My timing was off on that one. I didn't. You did work on it. Hey, you get me closer. You stood, it was the next, that evening whenever I get home.
I said, hey, to you.
I
Yeah,
got,
try
I
to
had,
slow it
I
down.
had so much paper, I know I had to.
Touch me, Ron. Ron, your wife leave you? No, she's back there. She ain't left you yet.
Boy, Ron, that's a nice shirt.
I'm gonna have to take another. We're stopping back by.
Well,
thank you for offering.
You're welcome.
If another couple comes in, we got one left.
That's it.
Yeah, she told me to talk about that. She gave me some information.
Okay.
I'll talk about the end of your lesson.
Yeah, is that, give me that one right there. I want that. Well, you gave
Hey,
Sonia one.
Sonia one.
Hey, Tom,
Do.
if you see me look at you, I might need to.
You're talking. Okay.
Sometimes he doesn't take a shirt and Gary's up and go.
I'll be glad to do that. Sonia. Is there a teacher's book over there for next month, next
I
quarter?
think they said George was still in there. I think Stephanie was giving me mine.
Giving your teacher's book?
No.
Oh, I thought you were a teacher. Oh,
No, I'm not a teacher.
Everybody put your little handout away till commutation.
what we gonna do?
Let's talk about it when we finish. I want you to-
Yeah, I need your undivided attention.
Tommy, do you need commentary?
Yeah, you can get that too, Mama.
Anybody need a book for next quarter?
Man, we are off a little bit today. Yeah, I'll stop a little early so we can talk about it. Here, come on
I didn't
in.
make the grand enough entrance while ago. I need to do it again.
Come on in.
Just don't stand there with food in your hand and stand there and eat it.
Who's got that?
Nobody.
You're one of those children in school that told everybody, weren't you?
Have I got to put it right here? I know that.
Blondie, you and Don getting along? Okay. Okay. Cheryl, that's it.
He works Friday, Saturday, Sunday days. Then he's off for 5, and then he goes back again, so
My goodness.
At least it's day.
this time was days, last time was night.
That's a hard thing to, I can't sleep most nights anyway, but.
I don't usually have much trouble sleeping myself.
He left before I got there.
I can sleep pretty good.
Tablespoon that where he had taken like a big tablespoon of mustard, so that told me he had really cramps.
Y'all ain't got nothing to eat? Well, I mean, what you?
No, it was, he must have not slept.
Gary got stuff in it.
Well, yeah.
For the cramp. For the cramp.
After that sermon we just had, you sure.
Yeah, let's take up a love offering for Cheryl
Oh,
then.
no, I'm good.
Y'all eat mustard sandwiches.
I'm just could do without a few meals and I'd be all right.
Well, I know that, me too. All right, let's get, I'll try to stop a little early. We need to talk about maybe our trip or whatever here in a little bit. But today, this is our 12th lesson in this spring in Job and Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastes.
Somebody said Ecclesiastes. It's Ecclesiastes. No, this is our 12th lesson. We got one more lesson to go, and then we'll be finished with this. Then we'll start a new unit or new quarter, and this is going to be in Philippians and Colossians, with the last lesson being in Philemon. So anyway, it says we learned in both of these books that they address the human search for meaning. You know, when we talk about Job, he searched for meaning in his life. He got hit with a lot of things. And then, of course, we talked about Solomon, his quest for the meaning of life and all this. So it says Job focused on one person's response, focused on his own response to a series of catastrophic events. And I think we can say they were pretty catastrophic, his events in Job's life. Hopefully he found the meaning in life. Later on, his God increased his life twofold over what it used to be. But he went through a lot before he got there. The second one, the Ecclesiastes, centers on all the typical human ways of learning life's meaning. We talked about all of that. You can find life's meaning in knowledge, or we thought we could find life's meaning in knowledge, maybe in some pleasures of life. You can find life's meaning. Wealth, we just got through talking about wealth, and even constant work. You know, people think they can find meaning of life in their constant work or whatever. You can, just lose yourself in that. But it says in both books, the main characters, which were Job and Solomon, conclude that life's ultimate meaning can only be found in a right relationship with God. Amen. I mean, we could almost shut our book and go home now. The meaning of life can only be found in a right relationship with God. So today our lesson is entitled Facing Death. There's a question mark in facing death. I mean, we're all facing death. That's not a big, it's not no big revelation. It says the wise person gratefully lives all the days he or she is granted. In the last 2 or 3 days, we've been hit hard with death. There's been 3 people I know of in the last 4. The Hutto fella passed away last night. That ain't good. I mean, no, and he not very old, 57 years old. Then the character, what's her name? Courtney, 40. Come on now, we 60, 65.
Who were the other two? I'm just.
Yeah.
Greg Moore.
Greg Moore.
Oh. Mine was personal. So.
Okay, but anyway, it's death all around us. Whether it's COVID related or whether it's not, there's death everywhere, facing death. And right on where it says Ecclesiastes 9:1-10, Annette and Tony just logged on if you want to do that. Tammy, read that right there. We do not know. On page 109. We do not know.
We do not know the number of days we have on this earth, but we are responsible for how we live those days and steward the resources we have been given. There are times when we may suffer. There are times when we will experience great blessings. These times are a part of the ebb and flow of life. No matter how long a person lives, he or she is going to die unless the Lord returns first. Ecclesiastes 9:1-10 addresses this reality and how people live in light of their mortality.
No matter how long a person lives, he or she is going to die unless the Lord returns first. You can be 1 year old or 100 year old. There's no guarantee for life. Life is fragile, extremely fragile. And here's a question. And it's kind of weird. It says, if you wake up in the morning to find you only had 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year to live, how would your life change? If you woke up and knew, and people do that, people get reports, you got cancer, you've got a month to live or what, people get those reports. If you got that report that you only had just a month or a week or so to live, how would it change your life? How would you greet the day? How would you greet your spouse, your job? You think about that for a little bit. Well, I'd hate to know that. I'd hate to know that I only had a week to live. You know, that'd be just awful to have that burden upon you to know. I guess the Lord would give you peace somehow, to give you peace to not just worry you to death, because you know you're secure in your salvation, but there's the fear of the unknown. It's a fear of the unknown. And we'll talk about it in a little bit. You may not be afraid of dying, but you got a fear of the unknown of what it's going to be like. You know, we know there's a heaven, but there's really nobody never come back and told you what it's like. So there's somewhat of an anxiety or a fear associated with that. It says, unless we are directly confronted with our own mortality, most of us live our life as if it'll never end. Unless we're confronted with it, we just live our life like it won't never end. You know, maybe not all of us. Hopefully, you know, we cognizant of that we need to do better and all that stuff. But you know, I don't think, well, I might die tonight. You know, I don't think of that often. I mean, I could, but I mean, you can't live like that. You can't live that like you might die any minute, I don't think, but you got to be ready. That's it.
Years ago, I mean, it hasn't been that many years. Well, it may have been, but it just seems like it's been a lot less years. You know, we all knew that death was imminent. We're going to die someday, but it's not going to be this century. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
because pretty much we knew that death would come, but we all bulletproof at some point in time in our life. We all think nothing's ever going to happen.
That's right.
And, you know, and I think the older we get, now we realize that
Exactly.
it's not.
Oh, when we were young, I never thought, you know, Rick Black would die, or I never thought Greg Moore would die. You don't think of stuff like that. But everybody will die.
I think this pandemic is really.
It's more of a thing to think about, but
Yeah.
just the way it is. This is something that this pastor said. He said, during the years I served as a pastor in Columbus, Georgia, he said he also taught a Bible study group at a nearby nursing home. This pastor did it. The first session I taught there, very first session, an old elderly woman parked her motorized wheelchair very close to his podium. Now, every one of us has probably been in a nursing home. You know how it's like. Everybody's got their wheelchairs, and the preacher come in and they all come in the room, and she parked it right beside the podium. Says, she happened to be a member of the church I served, where he served at. She was a member. Of course, he was new and he didn't know she was a member. And that time, that woman was 104 years old. And she said, he said, I had been at church only a few weeks. So this was my first visit to the facility. She looked up at me and softly asked, "Are you my pastor?" Now I can just kind of visualize that. Can't you? An old lady, "Are you my pastor?" And a big smile appeared when he responded, "Yes, ma'am, I am your new pastor." And after the session, she grinned at me and said, "I didn't hear a word you said, but I sure did enjoy it."
I can relate.
Yeah, you know, she was so old she couldn't hear good, but it goes on to say here, she had experienced profound joy in simply being present when her pastor taught a Bible study. She found joy in it. And the whole thing about this story is we can find joy in bad times. It's hard to believe. Joy is a choice that God's people can make regardless of your age. You can find it's a joy in physical health, marital status, financial means, family proximity, geographical location, or any other external factor. You can find joy in it. We as Christians need to find joy. If you got to eat mustard sandwiches, you need to find joy in it. I'm just kidding.
I tell her that's what we have.
I'm just kidding. Oh, like it said, like this saintly lady who enjoyed the Bible study, she could barely hear. we as believers can choose to enjoy our God-given lives, even in difficult times.
You know, Tommy, I was in the room when my dad received the news that he had colon cancer. His reaction, I never forgot. He accepted it. And through the whole time he was sick, he was, you know, my daddy had been out of church for 20 years. But when he got sick, he got back in church and served church and in the hospital room. And he would be singing in church and he just he had a peace about it.
Exactly.
It helped
I think
me.
God give you a peace.
He did, and yet he accepted him. But just that strength,
Mhm.
when I heard about it.
God gave Tim Carricker a peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gave Tim Carricker a peace. How you doing? I'm fine. I'm good. I'll be all right. You know he weren't all right, but he'd say, I'm all right. I'll be fine. He'd always say that. Psalm 90:10 says, our lives last 70 years, or if we're strong and lucky, it might last 80 years. Even the best of them are struggle and sorrow. Indeed, they pass away quickly and we fly away. Like the preacher said, we're here for the vapor. Eternity's way out here. We pass away, but eternity's forever. In this session, we'll examine Solomon's counsel regarding how God's people can best approach the time they have left here on this earth. See, we don't normally talk about stuff like this. How much more time have I got left here on earth? I don't know. I mean, I might have one day or 25 more years. I don't know. You just don't know. This is something, Nathan, you was there at Ryan's 1-year birthday party. They had this little table over there. You had some cards you could fill out, and she's going to read them on her 18th birthday when she's 18 years old. And what did Martine say? She said, I won't be here when she reads that. I may not be here when she reads that. I'll be 80 something years old. But Martine said, I won't be here when she reads it. It kind of puts things in perspective. God determines the length of our lifespans according to his purposes. Therefore, we should be grateful for the time he grants us and enjoy that time in a manner that pleases him. And I wrote down, I said, no matter how much we want to know the future and how much we want to control it, we are unable to know what God has in store for the future. Nobody can control God.
Right.
Nobody can control God. And you've heard this saying before. I don't know what the future holds, but I know who holds the future. You've heard that said many times. I don't know what the future's got in store for me, but I know who holds the future for me. And hopefully all of us do that too. So let's go to our scripture, page 111 in your book. And I'm going to read it from my Bible here. Mine breaks it down into first grade where you can understand it a little better. Solomon says, this too, and you can kind of follow on verse 1. This too I carefully explored. Even though the actions of godly and wise people are in God's hands, no one knows whether or not God will show them favor in this life. Just because we're Christians and coming to church, we don't know that God's going to show us favor in this life. You know, we hope that he will, but bad things are going to happen to us, even though we are Christians and we try to do the best we can. He says, the same destiny ultimately awaits everyone, whether they are righteous or wicked, good or bad, ceremonial or clean or unclean, religious or irreligious. Good people receive the same treatment as sinners. Good people receive the same treatment as sinners. Now we know there's a heaven out there. So I don't know that I'm all in tune with that, but
In this, is this.
they're talking about in this life. Yeah.
Yes.
Good people receive the same treatment as sinners, and people who take oaths are treated like people who don't. So in this life, we're all treated the same. In the afterlife, it's a whole different ballgame. There you go. We're all different ballgame. So in verse 3 says, it seems so tragic that one fate comes to all. That is why, it says, that's why people are not more careful to be good. Instead, they choose their own mad course, for they have no hope. There is nothing ahead but death anyway. Yeah, Solomon got away with his words there a little bit. You know, he'll tell you, I'm not sure that his view is like I would think. He said, ain't nothing but death ahead anyway. Why you want to do good? Or he said, that's why people don't want to do good, because ain't nothing but death ahead anyway. Well, we know better. We know that the heaven's going to be there for us. Let's see,
We do now because Jesus Christ
exactly.
has been crucified. At this point, he had not.
That's right.
All they had was God.
Mhm.
They didn't, like we know. We're supposed to be living and working and storing up treasures in heaven. And these people didn't know that.
You're right. You're right. Everything is the same for everyone. There's one fate for the righteous, and like I said, as it is for the good, so also it is for the sinner. Right down at the bottom of page 111, with this in mind, read that, Cheryl.
With this in mind, the teacher revealed.
Who's the teacher?
Solomon.
Yeah.
Solomon revealed his first thoughts in this passage concerning the human condition. People in general do not know how God is going to deal with them. God is sovereign and will deal with his people as he sees fit. The core of the problem is human depravity caused by sin. God is a just God who must punish sin, and at the same time, a gracious God who forgives sin. So is God going to be against us or for
All right, now
us?
stop right there. We know God is for us. But I guess here he's questioning, is God going to be against us or is God going to be for us? Go ahead.
It is impossible to answer this question by just looking at what goes on around
All right, now
us.
stop right there. It's impossible to know if God is for us just by looking at things going on around us. Look at all, like the death of this girl, what's her name, Courtney? My goodness, that's tragic. You think, God, are you for me? I've gone to church.
God's ways are not our ways.
I know you, but we think that, you know, come on now. I've tried to do good all my life and I've done this and this happens. I've got kids, you know, the family's thinking stuff like that. It says that, but it's impossible to answer that question by just looking at what goes on around us. Is God for us or is God against us?
With all that going on in Afghanistan, you could think, is he, is he not in charge? Why is he gonna let those Christian people over there probably be hunted and
Yeah.
killed?
I know.
Why would he not save them?
So the last sentence.
It says people cannot determine if they are in God's favor or disfavor based merely on their present experiences in life.
That's right. And on the next page, highlighted, it says, so from a human point of view, it may raise the question, what advantage is there to being righteous if the righteous and wicked experience the same things in life and end in the same fate, death? What's the advantages? That's the advantage. I mean, we know that's the advantage of being right, trying to be right with God.
Eternal life, there's peace now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you get through tough times if you're not a Christian. So the Christian gets peace or understanding or ability to live through the death of a loved one that happens suddenly. But you get peace on this earthly life.
Yeah.
Our joy is found in the Lord, not in this life. And that's why we have to live that for people that are suffering, that don't know him. We've got to be that strong witness. We've got to love them through it and explain it to them the best way we can, however God chooses to use you in that situation. Because there's a lot of people that are losing loved ones that they don't know him as their savior. That's when we need to step in and love them the way God,
Exactly.
that they have the hope that we
My first cousin, I may have told you this, Jimmy, I know Jimmy Huntley. His little boy died when he was 2 years old. Just what did he get, Sonia? HIV. Got sick one Thursday and died that Saturday, I believe it was. 2-year-old kid. Just complete devastation. At the funeral, I couldn't say nothing. You ever been to the point where you just didn't know what to say? So I wrote down a couple of scriptures and I just handed it to him. I didn't know what to say to him. I didn't have an answer. I'm like, I don't know why God took that 2-year-old boy. But on the day that Lucas turned 2 years old, he called, didn't
They have a back pain.
he? The only way to prepare for death is to trust in God and his provision for us through his son. The only way to prepare for death. Are you prepared for death? We talk about everything. I talked about it yesterday to Tim. Oh, I'm getting cremated. He's already talking about, I'm getting cremated. We're doing this and that. And he said, I don't care. I ain't gonna have no service or nothing. We just get cremated. I said, I don't want to talk about that, man. Shut up.
It was on his birthday.
It was his 66th birthday. I said, we ain't talking about cremating nobody. Shut up. So, I mean, we talking about stuff like that, but you prepare for death. Cremation ain't the thing. You need to prepare for death. Make sure you're going to heaven. Make sure you're right with God.
Not about the bodies. So,
That's right. The top of page 113, seek life. But there is hope for whoever is joined with all the living. Now, this is good. Since a live dog is better than a dead lion. And we'll talk about that in a minute. That Solomon, he had a lot of wisdom. For the living know that they'll die, but the dead don't know anything. There's no longer a reward for them because the memory of them is forgotten. Their love, their hate, and their envy have already disappeared. And there's no longer a portion for them in all that is done under the sun. So in the first sentence, it says, Solomon concluded that in spite of the overwhelming perplexities and difficulties that goes along with the human condition, it's still better to be alive than dead. Don't you agree with that? I think it's human instinct. You want to be alive.
Maybe.
There's some people that probably don't want to be alive, but it's entrenched in us to do all you can to stay alive.
That old song, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die.
Yeah. Yeah, it don't matter who you are. You do anything you can stay alive just about. You'll pay all the money, you'll get all the medicine, you do whatever you can stay alive. It's just human nature. And we know that heaven's so much better place, but we won't be alive. I want to see my grandchild grow up. You want to see Anna's little baby, you don't want to die. But we know heaven's better. But still, it might be better, but I still want to live. I told him, I said, if you're getting up a load tonight, Lord, you just need to pass by my house. If you're getting up a load tonight to go to heaven, just pass me by for tonight anyway. I ain't quite ready to go. You see there where it says, he illustrated Sonia. You see, he illustrated it's right after the better to be alive than dead. Yeah, you do.
What page is it on?
It's right after I read that on 113.
He illustrated this by comparing the most admired and mightiest of beasts in the ancient Near East. A lion was perhaps the most despised animal in the ancient Near East, a dog. Lions were icons of royalty. For example, Jacob used the metaphor of a lion to describe the coming Messiah in Genesis 49:9. In contrast, the dog was associated with contempt. Goliath expressed this connotation when he asked David, "Am I a dog that you come against me with sticks?" 1 Samuel 17:43. Solomon concluded that a despised, contemptible dog that is alive is better off than a dead lion, even if the lion was the mightiest and most majestic of the entire animal. Why? Because hope is lost when one dies. In contrast, regardless of their status or situation, there is still hope for the living.
It don't matter how important you are, you're gonna die. John D. Rockefeller died. Whatever, John Kennedy, everybody gonna die. It don't matter how important you are. He got murdered, but he still died. Yeah, I mean, it's still the same thing. It says here in the bottom of 113, the living still have an opportunity to be prepared for their death. But as for the dead, their opportunity to resolve the problem is gone. So while you're alive, you got an opportunity to receive God, to receive Jesus. But when you're dead, it's gone. Solomon was not saying there's no life after death. His point was that the opportunities God gives to people while alive on this earth will be forever lost to them when they die. And we all understand that.
Aren't there some religions that pray for the dead or something?
Yes,
Yeah.
when they're in purgatory.
Their prayers, they think their prayers will pray on it.
I don't know.
Y'all heard us sneeze before, don't it?
Who's name?
Next page, 114. Enjoy. So we're going from we're going from doom and gloom, seeking life, and now we're going to enjoy. Verse 7. It says, so go ahead. I'm reading it from my Bible. So go ahead. It says, eat your food, drink your wine, drink it with a happy heart, for God approves of this. It says, go ahead, wear your fine clothes, and even put on a splash of perfume or cologne if you want to. Does it say that in your book?
No.
It says oil. Here it says with a dash of cologne in my book. Yeah. Verse 9. Now, Gary, verse 9. Live happily with the woman you love. Through all the meaningless days of life that God has given you in this world, the wife God gives you is your reward for all your earthly toil. Way to go, Tammy.
That's right.
You're Gary's reward. Whatever you do, do it well, Gary. For when you go to the grave, there will be no work or planning or knowledge or wisdom. We say
That
that.
work?
Kenny?
minute.
Wait a minute.
We might have found a loophole.
Whatever you do, do it well. For when you go to the grave, there will be no work or planning or knowledge or wisdom. Yeah.
There's the ticket, where they are going.
No, because we're gonna have things that we're.
Right, right.
So we're gonna still
But
work.
what is, what is she?
You don't hear that.
the ground.
That's what we're saying.
ground.
Yeah.
What, they gonna give you a chainsaw or something and you're gonna cut down?
With no gas.
You'll have to run some kind of old backhoe or something in heaven or something.
No, we just got people.
Some people might enjoy it, Steve would love it. My family would.
He'd love to get on a bulldozer and ride it around with him.
Working in the yard.
Work is
painting,
good.
Flowers, I love that. Working in the yard.
Give it a shot sometime, Tom.
I worked for 50 years. I'm done. I got finished with work.
I'm gonna run the ice
There you go.
Oh, it's going heaven.
Yeah. I'm gonna be friends.
It's
Black-
all free.
Black cherry, black cherry.
Every flavor of
Oh, gotcha. So Solomon's telling us, he's telling us here to enjoy life. What Solomon's telling us to enjoy your life. It's kind of a fleeting moment. He makes it sound like it's a toilsome job. Your life is. There's toil, what he said something about meaningless days of life that God has given you. And something about toiling. I forget what he said on that, but at the bottom there, it's in verse 7, Solomon asserted, we can enjoy life because God has already accepted your work. And he said, this is not saying God approves of everything a person wants to do. Rather, it means God intends us to enjoy the blessings of life he has given us in acknowledgement of him. And then the question, here's the question for you. I can't hear you. It says, I can't hear you.
The infallible word.
Where did it say why? I don't even know what I read, see?
You heard her.
Get with me after the service. It says, how can a person live with a healthy understanding of death without being fearful of death?
I know it, God.
Because we have hope.
The bottom line.
We gotta be joyful people. I mean, I like to laugh and cut up. We got to be.
If we're not, what are we saying to the world?
What kind of
We're being
examples
like
are we
them.
if we're not?
I think that's what this is telling us, to enjoy
Yeah.
what God has given us and acknowledge that he gave it to us.
I
agree.
Share it, just like Joy told us.
Yeah.
The hour before.
It would be stinking if you were, a daddy and you gave your child.
Y'all think got me crying.
But if you gave your child a toy and they wouldn't appreciate or play with it. I mean, really?
Yeah.
Solomon instructed men to enjoy life with their wives. But the principle is for both married men and women to enjoy their spouses until they die. Son, you going to enjoy me till we die? I mean, I don't even know that you enjoy me now. Yeah, I don't know if you enjoy me now or not.
You see how sweet Sonny said?
Yeah. Oh, Lord, marriage is a blessing from God. It says, enjoy it in this fleeting life because there'll be no institution of marriage in heaven as we know it here on earth.
We'll know each other, but
We talked about that yesterday. Your mom was over at the house. She said, what am I gonna do? She had 3 husbands.
she's gonna enjoy being in the presence of the Lord. Just like the rest of us.
Yeah, she said, I think there'll be so much love in heaven that everybody could love the same or whatever.
It goes back to what you said earlier. We cannot fathom or comprehend
Yeah,
life in heaven.
That's
can
right.
be like.
no institution of marriage in heaven as we know it here on earth. Now, when we get to heaven, ain't you gonna look like that when you get to heaven?
I'll look for him.
I mean, are you gonna look the same? Are you gonna be 18-year-old Benji, or are you gonna be 40-year-old Benji?
Whichever it is, we great.
Yeah. But do you ever think of that? Do you ever think of that when you get to heaven? Am I gonna be 5-year-old Tommy or 50-year-old Tommy or what? You know. Praise the Lord! I'll have a new life.
You already got started on that.
I'll have a new body.
Didn't Joey?
Yeah, I kn-
One time would be like 33.
And now Joey don't know that.
Yeah.
That's that 85% you believe in 15. You know?
If he did, now, I don't know that he did. But
Is it-
again, we're stepping a little.
What?
No, that would be fine because I felt pretty good.
33 was when you're getting.
Yeah, 30 was better.
Maybe you can get with St. Peter or something and see if he'll do it better. Let's see. When a married couple loves and enjoys each other as God intended, they will experience a wonderful blessing, Sonia. Oh, my goodness. And then the last thing on the last page, I'm gonna say, so why should all your strength, no. So why should we give our best effort to everything God allows us to do?
Because he gave his best.
He did, and we don't know how long we be here to enjoy.
We're a bunch of
We're-
handicapped.
We're supposed to be showing others Jesus in us.
In
So
everything.
you should hopefully try. I fail all the time because, you get aggravated customers.
Get in the flesh.
Sometimes some are much better, easier to love than others.
Easy now, easy.
But we're supposed to.
Glanced over at me.
No. no.
Is Anita back up?
Yes, she is. Only when she comes, she knows how it is in there sometimes. But yeah, we're supposed to enjoy what we do. Because that's our
Yeah.
goal, is to show
Exactly.
Jesus through us to others.
Facing death, here's the last thing I'll say. Believers recognize life as a gift from God. As a result, we're called differently.
Absolutely. Bottom line.
Believers recognize life as a gift from God. Therefore, we call this a little bit differently. Just like y'all were saying, we need to show it. It's a gift from God. Life's a precious thing. I'm going to a funeral this afternoon and probably a visitation. It's terrible. young guy. I went to school with him all my life. Me and him played together out there in his yard and all. I mean, and I'm thinking, you don't think somebody like that. You just don't think about that, you know, well, he ain't gonna die, but they do. All right. Anything? I mean, yeah, facing death. Oh, wait a minute. Turn your recorders on. Turn your recorders on. What? Boo-boo, you punch him if you. Okay. All right. All right. Look at boo-boo.
Be like. If you run a good road. It's up to you during this time, what you want to do. Or you get to see, you get to feel, you touch, taste.
Uh-huh.
If you like those things, what you see, bad or good, you go that direction. You're in a good position, able to worship God. God tells you to do good. Bad.
Amen.
That's what I'm talking.
Amen. Amen.
It's in three. Three is the number that is used in the Bible. That's the way I'm saying.
It's easy to understand. Way to go, Jerry.
I think Jerry Clower pretty well summarized it pretty well.
Jerry Clower.
He said, "Do you know where you'll be when you get to where you're going?
Say it again.
Do you know where you'll be when you get to where you're going?"
Uh-huh.
When you get there,
When
you'll
you
know.
get there, you'll
Yeah.
know.
Oh, shoot this thing.
Jerry Clower, he's deep.
Yeah, he did. Him and Clovis and Eugene, all of them. All right. Let's see. Let's talk, do sick real quick. Let's speak of sick. I hope you got the email that Joyce sent out about the COVID and all. I mean, it's raging. It's really raging here lately, and there's not a mandate to wear a mask, but if you can, wear your mask and be mindful of other people. We certainly don't want to ever have to go back to 2 services and putting dots on the pews and all that stuff. I was talking to Rob London just a while ago, and he said that they're thinking at the hospital that in 3 weeks, it'll reach its peak and it'll start going back down in 3 weeks.
Well, I figure when public school starts, just like at Union Academy, you give them a week and a half and they'll be, a rise in cases.
Yeah, there was a guy on TV said the schools will be closed in 3 weeks.
Hopefully after that, it'll go down.
Yeah, so we just do the best you can. Be mindful of other people, like Joey said in his email. Be nice.
It can
That's
be-
right.
Be nice.
We can
Of all
be,
else, speaking of,
Be nice, Mike. You know
but
what?
you can be concerned, but don't be, just don't stress over, don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be consumed by that.
Oh, I know.
You never leave home, you
you really don't. know
never
what
see
to do.
anybody, and how miserable is that? We all remember how it was,
I know.
miserable.
And I've said this before, there's a different, you got faith that God will help you and do it, but there's a fine line between faith and stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can be faithful to God help you, but if you're dumb enough to just go out and do what you want to do, God will let you get it.
Don't go around licking the ground.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we walk in wisdom of God,
Exactly.
and just trusting that his word is true. If we profess to believe that his word is true, we need to believe all.
Amen,
It's
brother.
constant.
Wash your
Amen.
hands, stay out of
Most
people's face.
All right, who we want to mention? Of course, y'all know that Greg Moore, he passed away. His funeral will be today. Tammy had mentioned him several times, cancer. He succumbed to cancer. Tell about Hotel.
He died of a heart attack.
What was his first name?
Charles.
Charles, and she was Sandy Benton in high school.
Sandy Sandy,
Yeah.
you know her.
That's my old friend. Other friend.
He used to do commercials for the, you probably seen him, you didn't know. He was on TV.
Yeah.
Cardiff.
Hendrick, maybe?
I don't know who it's for.
Yeah,
Greg, him,
we need to continue to remember Byron.
Byron Stars, and Courtney, the girl that passed away, Reggie Carricker's daughter. That's just a shock,
What was
man.
her last name?
I can't say it.
Say it, Sonia.
Who?
Courtney.
Oh.
Schenker.
Yeah.
They get pretty
He's
close
over around.
home for your family.
He's from Great Bear. Here.
Garrison's cousin, that's right.
I called Michelle a while ago, he said, apparently he got Stan's hair this week. He said, Michael, here's his nephew. Really requested prayer for all the armed forces of the military.
Exactly.
We got probably maybe up to 40,000 people out of Afghanistan that the United States government has basically turned the back on them.
Yeah.
And he just asked that we all remember all military.
Hopefully that'll
Yeah.
figure out something to do right on that.
Ask Annette about Eva.
Annette, can you hear me? If you can hear me, let me know how Eva is doing. I think you do.
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Tell how Eva's doing.
She sent me a message this morning that she doesn't have any fever this morning, but her congestion is still bad, but thank goodness her oxygen levels
Okay, I
are
lost
right
you.
where they need to be. She has a really bad sore throat, so she's not talking a lot. She has a bad cough off and on, but she was able to get a shower last night. And that made her feel better. So she's, they started back to school on Monday. And she tested positive on Thursday. And I think they have over 1,000 people from their school district who are either quarantined or tested positive by the end of this week. And Tanya's son Jonathan, he got
Yeah.
stung by about 30 hornets on Friday, and he had to go to the doctor. He's on some meds and he's doing okay. She's at the doctor with Mikey this morning. Something has caused him to break out in a really bad rash, and she's going with him to see if they can find out what's going on with that. She said, if we can get her addresses for somebody that we need to send a card to, she's going to work on that tomorrow. So these families that have suffered the loss of a loved one, if somebody will send her an address, she'll send out some sympathy cards or get well cards. If there's something we need done, just let her know.
All right. Thank you, Annette.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
David, hey, anybody heard from David?
What's wrong with David?
We had those.
Kidney stone.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't she say she passed two of them?
Yeah, she said she passed, there's still some more in there, they don't know how many. Still passing.
All right.
He's the man.
Yeah, he's the man, David's the man. Tell about this right here. Who, Kenny, you know a little bit about it.
Just a little. Becky stopped me on the way over here just a few minutes ago, said she had left the seats in the room. Said we needed to come to a decision pretty quick. I think we'll probably read them this week, vote next week or whatever. But Stacy has put this together. 2 trips. I hadn't seen it. She just wanted to tell you. One of them's the beach, one of them's the mountains. She said it reads a little bit like something might be the Smoky Mountain ones might include the travel, but it doesn't. So there would be an additional cost, gas or if we took the bus, whatever. What else she say? I guess that's pretty much it. Just need to come up with a decision. Both of them are 3-night stay. Of course, the Tennessee one's a little more expensive.
Now Donna would like that original buffet at Benjamin Seafood. She'd be tearing up some of the crab legs. All right, well, let's look at this over and we'll
Yeah, make a decision, she said. Stacy needs to know.
okay.
Need to know today?
Well, she didn't say that, but she did say it needed to be pretty quick, so maybe by next Sunday.
then we'll have a vote. We'll send our votes from
Michigan.
Michigan.
Do they have dates in mind?
It's on
Yeah,
there.
it's in there.
Yeah, I think it's on the paperwork too.
It'd be about 500 a couple for the Myrtle Beach and almost 1,000 for the Smoky Mountain. So it's a lot different. So we'll talk about that next Sunday. All right, anybody got anything else? I was gonna play you out a song, Old Death by Ralph Stanley. You know that song, Danny?
Oh, yeah.
Old Death. You ain't never heard that. Y'all need to pull that up. It is. It's all a cappella and you wouldn't believe it. You pull it, Ralph Stanley.
Outstanding.
You know what I'm talking about, Mike? He's saying. Old Death. Y'all pull it up and listen to it. No, it's something like nothing you never heard before. Y'all need, you've heard, ain't you, Kenny? Kenny knows who Ralph Stanley is. Old Death. You're there. Is it?
Yep.
All right, let's stand. Gary, you dismiss us, brother.
Heavenly Father, we are so thankful to you for how much you love us, God. The examples that you give us, let's see here, by your children, Lord, the inspiration that we get. We just thank you for that. We ask you, Lord, now to be with all the sick that's in the community, Lord, that's around the world. Lord, there's so much that's going on. We can't even name them all. But we know that you know exactly who they are and how, and we trust you with that. Father, I pray for the ones for the things that's going on in Afghanistan, Lord, and around our world, Lord. There's just so much evil, Lord, and there's so many different trials and tribulations going on. We ask you, Lord, just to help us through this time, and the ones that's going through it, we just lift them up to you, that they will feel your spirit, that they feel your guidance, Lord, and to see that you are the way out. For the ones that's lost loved ones, we can lift them up to you, Lord, help them through this terrible time. Father, I pray now that you'll just be with us throughout this coming week. Just lead, guide, and direct us in everything we say and do, Lord. Christ's holy name.
Amen. Oh, dear.
Answer to your question.
Yeah.
Go back and watch City Slickers. One thing.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know what you like.
No.
But sometimes, yeah.
That's a great song, but
It's not acapella.
you ever